my 6 teams that can win the Super Bowl, the J-Max pack. They love this photo. And look at the Jets on a dinghy. Is that what that is, a dinghy?
Yeah. So I wanted to highlight this because what team is missing there? I think we all know the answer. Especially if you click this video, you know the title. No Kansas City Chiefs. It's so crazy to me to think that people are so firm in believing that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to just fall off a cliff. That they're just suddenly not going to be legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And what's even more interesting to me is because when you look at these top 6 Super Bowl contenders, you don't see the Chargers there, you don't see the Broncos there. I could understand a little bit more if you're like, I think the Chargers are going to be great. They're gonna win the division, or the Broncos, whatever be. Don't get too lost in which team or anything like that. But at least like you can kind of see the logic maybe a little bit more straightforward as like, okay, it's a tough team in the division now. You're not going to win the division. It's going to be wild card. You're going to have to be on the road for all the playoffs. Like I could understand it a little bit more conceptually. But this is just like, no, I just don't think you're going to be good enough. I don't think you're going to make the playoffs. I don't think your team's going to be good enough. And I don't understand how. Because this team last year was not great from a roster perspective, dealt with a ton of injuries, and yet they were still able to find themselves in the Super Bowl. And the reality is what makes you... I made a Buffalo Bills video, and I made a Baltimore Ravens video, and I'm just like, what makes it different this year? What is finally different? And to me, it's never been a roster issue. It's always been an execution, coaching, and situational, like a situational performance aspect of it, right? It's 3rd and 3, gotta have it down, gotta have it moment in the game. What do you draw up? Are you catching the ball? Are you dropping it? Like, what's actually happening here? The thing that the Kansas City Chiefs do consistently great year after year after year after year after year. And so to me, the question is like, how does that change now for a team like the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills? And why will the Kansas City Chiefs now suddenly lose that? Even if you want to say that you think that they have an inferior roster to say any of these teams up here, why will their roster now suddenly, outside of the Eagles, who obviously are the only team up there that have won the Super Bowl, why will they now suddenly make the big plays when you need to have them most? Because that's what these games constantly come down to, especially if you're talking about the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens, and, in the playoffs and whatnot. Like, why are we confident that's now going to be different? Not to mention, you have to imagine that this Kansas City Chiefs team is going to be healthier this year than it was last year. I mean, the only way that, to me, that you could say that the Kansas City Chiefs are not going to be Super Bowl contenders is if you fundamentally believe that Patrick Mahomes is now on the decline, that he is no longer a great quarterback, or he is no longer a top quarterback. But if you still believe that Patrick Mahomes is a top quarterback in the NFL, like a true bona fide, and again, don't get lost in the range, 3, 2, 1, wherever, and you have Andy Reid and you have Spags, again, you think that this roster then is going to be such a disaster, such a mess. This defense is not going to still be good, even if it's maybe not top 1 or top 2 like it's been over these last couple of years. This defense is just going to be awful now. It's just going to turn into the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Or you're banking on this O-line just being an absolute disaster, and every single game Patrick Mahomes is being pressured 18, 20 times. Just game after game after game. Like, that's how much of a mess it's going to be. I don't see that happening either. I don't see that happening. And even if it did, the reality is only the top teams can consistently make a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. Only great defenses can consistently make a team like a team that's run by and led by Mahomes and Andy offensively, of course, suffer those consequences. Which is why we did not see the Bills be able to do that against the Kansas City Chiefs. We did not see the Ravens. We didn't see any of these teams do it except for really the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's because their defense was truly special, truly great, and truly well coached with a lot of experience. Even some of these other teams that maybe had great defenses, not the same level of experience. Not the same level of experience. And not some of the dudes that you need at those key spots, like a Jalen Carter, for instance. Even if maybe like technically some of these other teams had a better pass rush, but it's just, you know, again, you got to put everything kind of in a complete picture here. And that was also my thing before that I've said, where it's just like the Chiefs O-line was bad, great, good, however you want to define it. It doesn't really matter. But if you think it was a problem, it was only truly a problem in the Super Bowl. It's only truly when it was just like, we can't overcome this, or Patrick Mahomes can't find himself out of this. But it was fine against the Buffalo Bills. It was fine against the Baltimore Ravens. It was fine against the Cincinnati Bengals. It was fine against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 49ers. It was fine against it was fine against every single team except the Philadelphia Eagles, the team that went on to win the Super Bowl. So like that's what I don't understand. And you guys really think the guy who they drafted, who I think he tore his patellar tendon, whatever it was, that's not going to end up being a great pick? I know there's like the risk and all of that, but it's just like, I can't see that being a flop. And the reality is that he was supposed to be the best, but because of his injury, he slid down, and that if he was healthy, he would have never been there. And so that'll probably end up aging as like the steal of the draft. And now they essentially got like a top 5 pick as the 31st pick in the draft or whatever. So like, maybe that matters. And you know, will they have that impact right away? No. But even if the O-line ends up being a mess, it's like, I still have the faith that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes will at least be able to minimize the pain that they're being suffered that way. The question mark is, though, that the Broncos defense should be great and the Chargers defense should be great. And so I do concede that can add a wrinkle in this, so to speak. But again, Xavier Worthy, I think it's very rare that you have a wide receiver just hit the ground running and just ball out. He clearly showed that he has a lot of special in him. Listen, is he going to become Tyreek Hill? Is he going to become Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase? Probably not. Can he be a receiver that can just, you know, devastate you at times and be a true weapon for Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely. And we know Rashee Rice is a great wide receiver. He should be healthy. And I mean, listen, I've been waiting for them to announce that he's going to be suspended, but like nothing's coming out of that. I mean, I think he will eventually once it gets finalized, but like the NFL is just like, oh, we're just not going to talk about this right now. So like that doesn't seem like that's happening this season. The only way something like that could happen immediately, that, you know, randomly throughout the season, is if like something devastating gets announced where it's just like, oh my God, it's a PR nightmare. We have to just like suspend him right away. Doesn't feel like that's going to happen, honestly. Feels like it's just going to be some sort of like financial compensation more than anything, and it'll just be like kind of taken care of, and then maybe being some sort of suspension in 2026, 27 or something. But again, at this point, who really knows? So you're gonna have a healthy set of receivers, healthy run game. I don't see how Patrick Mahomes is just suddenly a bad quarterback. I don't see how this defense is suddenly bad. I don't see how Spags is suddenly bad. I don't see how Andy Reid is suddenly bad. So it's just kind of crazy to me. And yet we're confident that like the Rams take a step forward, or the Commanders, and I'm a firm believer in the Commanders and the Rams. I made separate videos praising the Rams, praising the Commanders. But it is just so interesting to me where people get the confidence to elevate a team and downgrade another team, especially when you're talking about a team that has obviously consistently been at the top. Like, it's just, I'm trying to find the logic. I talk about that all the time. It's like I try to find the logic for the argument, and I don't see the logic. That's why I go to, it's like, well, then you have to believe then that Patrick Mahomes is actually just not that great of a quarterback and is truly beholden to his roster. But again, his roster's not bad enough where it would be where you're talking about like this team would just be a mess. So that's why I went back to like the Chargers, the Broncos, where it's like they'll be so good and they'll back him in a corner, and then it's just like, okay, then I can see that, but he's clearly not making that argument. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Still trying to figure it out. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Kansas City Chiefs not being a Super Bowl contender, according to J-Mac? And to be fair, Colin Cowherd doesn't think so either, apparently. I don't think he has them making the playoffs. But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're all on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.